Welcome to the CEN Show, a platform where we learn from the world community. I'm your host, Rashaki, Maskani, and on the panel this evening, we have the Fab Five. We got Brother Ernest McBride Jr., Brother Rahh, Professor Rahh, and Brother Mshinda, and I make up number 5, Brother Rashaki Maskani. Our guest this evening is Brother Chihuahua, which makes the Fantastic Six. And Brother Chihuahua is a regular guest. He's one of our, you might as well say he's one of our team members now. He's been on and we collaborate on a consistent basis and have excellent conversations from time to time, and very enlightening brother. And I always welcome him and his commentary on this show. So this evening, the topic is the subtle divide between perception, perspective, and AKA reality and what is real. So, Brother Chihuahua, I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to let you roll. So
Absolutely.
Let's get it on.
And I won't be holding back either. So I give thanks and praises to all my righteous ancestors, and I make that distinguishment. And I'm not separated from the unrighteous ones because I'm called upon them when I need them. But my relationship and association with my righteous ancestors. I give thanks. You see 3 of them behind me right now. And we are the living manifestation of our ancestors, both within human form and within nature form. Ancestor waters and rivers and streams and lakes are our ancestors. All the stars in the heavens, the sun and the moon, and all their cycles, all the seasons, these are our ancestors. The darkness and the light is our ancestors. So I call them to be present with us on this auspicious and benevolent evening. And let me jump right in. I'm a musical artist, a singer-songwriter, writing liberation music in the format of what we call reggae, roots and culture. I've been an original artist for over 46 years. I'm very family-oriented, Black liberation, evolution, inline, not so much online vibrations. So let me jump right in. First, I want to start with I'm going to do a disclaimer as well as a layout because I have to take this in patterns. So the disclaimer is the views and opinions expressed in this presentation are solely those of the presenter, which is myself, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the proprietors, creators, or affiliates of this platform. This content is provided for personal, educational, or informational purposes only. It is not intended to oppose or challenge any religious, political, cultural belief or societal norms. The presenter, once again, Chihuahua Ochosi, is an unconventional, independent thinker and does not claim to be an expert in the subject matter discussed. I'm going to run through this thing as quickly as I can because I really want to get into feedbacks and whatnot. At our last presentation, we were dealing with what we call thinking as our core renewable energy source and key to liberation. And so I'm going to just briefly throw some things in there to bring us back into the swing and the flow of it all, because everything is connecting and will be connecting from this point on. We spoke about the natural moral code world order, which is what we will need in order to heal the Black civilization and realign the balance of the entire earth. We talked about moral codes reject exploitation, honors human rights, natural rights, and foster dignity and ecological harmony. We also spoke about moral foundations that crumbled under the weight of colonial and neo-colonial violence. The most potent remedy is the power of thinking and thoughts. And by reclaiming self-determination, self-reliance, and self-sufficiency, we restore the moral codes that sustain when we harness Black thinking We rebuild civilization on its true moral foundation and heal both our people and the earth. We also touched on divine manifestation. We spoke that before the concept of God existed, there was energy, the primordial force, which all arises from energy, mind, emerge. So we have energy, and then everything arises from energy, and then from energy, mind comes forth. Energy is the communication with itself. Mind is the communication, energy communicating with itself. This dynamic interplay birth creation, which is the cosmic macro and micro universe. And out of this union, man was formed as an encapsulation of energy and mind. The program of thinking is a program into the encapsulation. The encapsulation is the body. Our physical body is a capsule, and was encapsulated inside of it is a program called thinking, which is the immortal spark that generates thought, which is another program, leading to innovation, which is another program, leading to inspiration, which is another program, leading to renewal, which is another program. Thus, through the power of thinking and thoughts, we fulfill our dominion mandate over creation, guided by moral codes that transform raw divine energy into a just and liberated manifestation. Now, I say all of that, and I'm breaking it down because I really want to get our minds wrapped around thinking. That's what we all do. We all think, no matter what socioeconomics, no matter what gender, no matter all those little things that exist. So we talk about the core message of the last presentation was Black thinking, rooted in natural moral codes and expressed through self-determination, self-reliance, and self-sufficiency. That self-sufficient in these principles is the renewable energy resource capable of restoring moral order, liberating our people, and healing the earth. The major points were that original moral codes are rooted in land, family, community. It honored life, responsibility, and care for the earth. Without moral codes, those are gone. Colonial disruption, European imperialism dismantled African moral systems, erased cultural practices, and exploited people and resources. The neo-colonial continuity, because it was neo-colonialism created to continue the original colonial disruption. So neo-colonial continuity, modern oppression through information warfare, economic control and political destabilization targets Black intellectual and cultural autonomy. 3 principles for renewal is self-determination, self-reliance, self-sufficiency. Self-determination is control over our destiny without outside interference. Using self-reliance is using ancestral knowledge to meet our needs, and self-sufficiency is building sustainable autonomous systems, which you're able to do if we are left alone without outside interference. Thinking as a renewable energy, like solar power, human thoughts, can endlessly generate innovation, moral guidance, and liberation when rooted in cultural and ancestral wisdom. Global redemption is restoring natural moral codes, benefits all of humanity, rejecting exploitation and fostering dignity, justice, and ecological balance. Spiritual foundation. Before religion, there was energy. Thinking connects us to divine energy and creation, making humanity the moral steward of the world. The collapse of humanity is the original moral order, rooted in African natural moral codes, was driven out by colonial and neo-colonial forces, destroyed cultural systems, exploited resources, and suppressed Black intellectual power. The remedy lies in reclaiming self-determination, self-reliance, and self-sufficiency, principles that awaken ancestral wisdom and restore autonomy. Thinking itself is a renewable energy resource, endless, capable of generating innovation and moral clarity when grounded in Black tradition. Restoring this way of life will not only liberate Black civilization, but also rebalance the earth, uniting humanity under a just and sustainable moral order. Spiritually, this vision is anchored in the belief and knowledge that thinking links our divine energy to creation, making humans responsible for manifesting a liberated and harmonious world. So the call to action we ended off with was awaken. A call to action is a call to think. A call to action is a call to think. Awaken our mind, ground our life in ancestral wisdom so that we can build the systems that free us. Now, after I went into thinking about, Brother Aki, Maskani and I had conversations, and this slot opened up, and we decided that I would address perception and perspective. But I felt it necessary to identify one of the most important aspect of why we're in this position. And that is energy, God and energy. We need to know, we can identify energy, but when it comes to identification of God, that becomes an ambiguous, obscure, kind of hypothetical, kind of, can I identify God? And that is also one of the subjects that human beings seem to have a problem in having a discussion about, which is, to me, is ridiculous, because if God affects our lives and the lives of others, not just locally, but nationally and globally, then why cannot we discuss God? And if energy comes into the picture that is innovative, highly innovative, that comes to free the people, those inventors or great intellectual minds that bring this energy to the light are usually wiped out, disregarded, and their patents and their brilliant work is left to obscurity. So I looked at my own life, because my life has been dedicated to this energy, this God. I want to identify this God. So this is called now 70-year investigation. And that's just based upon my life. When I say 70-year investigation, it's like I had to dig in deep into anything, because I'm already deep into my own physical experience with this life, with this energy, and I'm gonna speak on that. So we say now, we are told in religious and political, social, industrial complex of the modern traditions that God is eternal and everlasting, without beginning or end, immortal, omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. These grand absolute claims that have guided civilization for millennia, but I have never been able to be satisfied to accept such statements without true understanding and factual evidence. Over 70 years of searching, a universal investigation of sorts, I have examined these claims not through blind belief, but through deep personal observation, logical inquiry, and a relentless stripping away of the illusions and delusions that cloud human perception and perspective in the modern world. I look beyond cultural narratives and biases, past the layers of tradition, religion, myths, and politics. I look down into the tangible, natural structure of nature itself. I look not as a mathematician or physicist, which I am not. I look on as a humble, unconventional, social observer, and active participant in life and of life. I look on with full trust and faith that nature would unlock its truth and uncover the secrets that this marauding modern era has concealed for centuries. Then I began to search deeper and deeper still, this time inward, deep within this biological capsule, the human body, which I term divine consciousness of self. I could hear the sacred divine voices of my ancient ancestors, foremothers and forefathers instructing me saying, go deeper, deeper, know thyself. My goal was now very clear. I was to find if there exists any at all, something in this real natural universe that truly fits the full description attributed to this concept called God. What I discovered is that only one phenomena meets every single one of these criteria without exception. And that phenomenon can be summed up in a single word: energy. The fundamental laws of physics states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only converted or transformed from one form to another. It is eternal, everlasting, and without beginning or end. It exists everywhere, omnipresent. It possesses unimaginable power. Omnipotent, it contains within itself all the information necessary to form, sustain, and transform the universe. Omniscient, in short. God, in one word, is energy. Now, when I compared this conclusion to every descriptive trait humans have ascribed to God, the match is perfect in regards to energy. Energy is in every natural process, from the movement of the galaxies to the beating of the human heart. It is energy that does the work. It is energy that transforms but never ceases. It is energy that drives creation itself, powering the stars, fueling life, moving the wind, lighting our homes, carrying our voices across space. Energy is constant, conserved, and demonstrable. This realization forced me to ask a troubling question, a very troubling question. Why then, as energy, a real, observable, unstoppable, uncreatable, eternal force, been replaced in human thinking and thought by the concept of God? A concept which has caused humanity to suffer and turn away from energy. A concept that cannot create anything. A concept that is, in fact, turmoil with its nemesis, which is in constant turmoil with its nemesis, the devil, another fictional character. Concepts are the inventions of created things. Concepts are the inventions of created things, namely humans, and changes from one culture, religion, or ethnic group to another. The God concept is volatile and unstable, varying in degrees and instability widely across societal and cultural societies globally. The concept of God, as I see and have discovered, is hypothetical and very argumentative concept. It creates division and cannot be truly proven outside of religious context. As birds of a feather flock together, God, religions, does not flock with other gods or religions that aren't the same. Therefore, all gods and religions are sectarian in their nature. While claiming oneness with energy, life, the true God. Life and energy are synonymous. No energy, no life. No life, no concept of God. Therefore, life and energy remains constant in spite of and even after the concept of God is taken from humanity. The history of this concept has been marked by catastrophic suffering, as stated above, division and wars for the control of Earth's most precious resource, humanity itself. Religion and politics have often used the ideological concept of God to dominate human thinking and thoughts and behavior, redirecting humanity away from what is real and observable, and redirecting humanity away from energy, away from our natural autonomy within nature. The God concept continues to be a tool used to remove, exploit, and govern morality through perception and perspective, rather than guiding humanity and grounding it in the realness of nature's natural laws and nurturing the moral compass that emerges from humanity's true connection with it. Energy, by contrast, is not hypothetical, not at all. It is true, it is real, it is tangible, it is ever present, never absent. It can be measured, observed, and proven. And because it is observable, it is the infallible teacher that teaches all. It teaches us how the universe functions, how life sustains itself, and how balance is maintained. It teaches and reveals patterns, constants, and transformation that govern all existence. Energy does not demand belief. It demonstrates it is real in every moment and in every corner of creation. So in the fullness of this 70-year investigation, after a lifetime of searching, this energy is life, God. Life is energy, God. Without doubt, without apology. This is the identification of the eternal, omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient energy force, the shaker and the mover behind everything. Humanity's task is not to worship a concept, but to understand and live in harmony with the realness of energy, the true enduring source of all that is. When somebody is violated in your country, in your city, in your town, in the world, like for instance, let's look at Gaza and the ethnic cleansing and so on that is going on over there, and the different atrocities that's happening throughout the earth, not just in Gaza. Look at police brutality in America. There's always a 911 called in. And the 911 would go like this. Brrr, brrr. And the operator would pick it up and say, "What is your emergency?" And the person would say, "Well, I just saw somebody get robbed." And the operator would say, "Can you describe that individual?" And we would give a description. We tell what's the height of the person, the eyes, what kind of hair they got, what kind of clothing they got on, etc. So we're going to do that with God. God has to have an identity. God can't be just left to what? To a subjective. God is an objective force because God creates. Energy creates. So we have the trait, which is the height, the eyes, the hair, the clothing, etc. Then we have the observed evidence in nature, and we have what did you see? That means, you know what I'm saying? And then you have the natural interpretation. So what is the height of God? How tall is God? What is the measurement? So God is immeasurable. We cannot measure God. So that means, therefore, the observed evidence of this is universe spans over 93 billion light years in observable scope. The natural interpretation of that is that we can measure this because energy is what we're measuring. We're comparing energy with God. Energy permeates the entire universe and cosmos. That we know is a fact scientifically. So now we have the eyes of God. God sees all. Cause and effect, preserves every interaction. Energy interacts with the records, interacts and with and records all events. Hair, ageless. What color is the hair? It's ageless. So laws of physics, constant over time. That's the observed evidence in nature. Energy is conserved, never ages and ceases. Clothing, where's creation? Observable evidence, landscapes, oceans, stars, you name it, all of creation. That's the clothing of God. So we are really a part of that body. We are on the body of God. Energy. Energy, all forms are transformations of energy. All forms, landscapes, oceans, and stars are transformations of energy. Fingerprint. What's God's fingerprint? Pattern. Fractals. Carbonaceous, spirals, symmetry. Energy flows shape natural patterns. The flow of energy shapes natural patterns. Voice speaks in vibration. Evidence, sound waves, cosmic hum. Energy communicates in frequency. Signature, move. Fine tuning, which is the handiwork, as scriptures would mention in some cases. Observable evidence, physical constants precisely balanced. Energy's properties sustain life. Behavioral patterns of God, creative and purposeful. Evidence, biodiversity and beauty. Energy manifests in endless forms, known associates of God. All living things, interconnected systems then into observable. And then energy powers and sustains all. Same thing. Last known location of God, everywhere. Observable is in every atom, every star, and living cell. Energy is omnipresent. So this is the 911 breakdown of that. I needed to do that because we need to understand that and have a different, we can't continue to be conventional, following patterns that don't work, following democratic systems or Republican systems that doesn't work. What about the African democracy? What about the African Republican systems? What about the African idea or formation of capital or capitalism? These marauders did not bring us democracy. They stole it from us, reformed it, reshaped it, and fed it back to us and the world at large. So we have to return to our moral foundation in order to unlock the moral codes that is locked within our DNA. And that's a very simple thing to do. It doesn't require bloodshed or anything like that. So today's presentation is called The Subtle Divide Between Perception and Perspective, which is basically realities and what is real. In a world saturated with information, opinions, and digital illusions, the line between what is real and what is merely perceived grows increasingly blurred. People often use the terms perception and perspective interchangeably, yet they are distinct processes that shape how we engage with reality and how we sometimes lose sight of what is actually real. Perception is how we take the world through our lens, while perspective is the mental lens shaped by experience, culture, and beliefs, as well as trauma can also shape our perspective. But more crucial than either is the underlying real, a truth not constructed by individual or societal narratives, but rooted in balanced morality and universal human experience. In a modern world afflicted by reality overload and subjective biases, we must reorient ourselves, not merely to reality, but to what is real. Perception begins with the senses. What we see, hear, feel, touch, taste, and smell. It is the brain's immediate response to stimuli, filtered through complex neural pathways. Yet, perception is not the objective. Two people may witness the same event and come away with different impressions, not because the event changed, but because their perceptions did. Think of a shadowy alleyway where one person may signal mystery and excitement, to another danger and fear. Perception is vulnerable to context, memory, and even trauma. But if perception is the gateway, it does not determine the destination. That role belongs to perspective. Now, perspective extends beyond raw sensory data. It's how we interpret what we perceive. It is shaped by upbringing, belief systems, cultural norms, and personal experience. A political symbol to one person may be a banner of justice, while to another, it signifies oppression. The difference lies not in the symbol itself, but in the stories people attach to it. Stories born of perspective. But herein lies the danger. If we overly trust our perspective as absolute truth, we confuse what is real with what merely feels real. We start to live not in the world as it is, but in the world as we believe it to be. This is where we encounter a deeper distinction between reality and the real. Reality, as commonly understood, is often a collection of perceptions and perspective woven into a personal, collective, or societal narrative. But the real is deeper. It is not just what seems true to you or to me, it is what is, regardless of opinion or identity. For example, no matter one's gender, identity, religious affiliation, or cultural practice, all human beings breathe the same breath. The breath of life is not subjective. It does not shift from one news cycle or change depending on personal philosophy. It is real. It is shared. And in recognizing such universals, we find a compass pointing towards truth, balance, and moral clarity. The modern world suffers from reality toxicity, a condition in which people are inundated with conflicting truths, each vying for dominance. Some redefine gender, not based on biological reality, but on internal narratives. Some believe morality is subjective rather than anchored in natural law or moral balance. In this confusion, many lose touch with the real subsisting identity and ideology for grounded truth. This is not a denial of human complexity or freedom of expression. Rather, it is a call to distinguish between what is merely real to us and what is real for all of us. Perspective is not inherently harmful. In fact, it can foster empathy, creativity, and personal insight. But when it becomes untethered from what is real, it leads to division, confusion, and disconnection. Entire cultures now operate on divergent realities, making honest dialogue nearly impossible. We can see this in the diplomatic discourse that these leaders of these nations of today are having. It's almost impossible for them to have an honest dialogue. A society that elevates every personal reality to the level of unchangeable truth cannot sustain shared meaning. Without shared meaning, we fragment. And without shared orientation towards the real, towards what is natural, moral, and unchanging, we drift further from ourselves and each other. We need to return to the basics, to breath. We all share. This is not a call to conformity, but to recognition that beneath our layers of identity and perspectives and perceptions, there is something that connects us all. The breath of life does not require validation. It simply is. It is real. And from this common root, we can begin to build societies, conversations, and worldviews that are not just grounded in reality, but rooted in the real. This demands humility, the willingness to admit that our perceptions and our perspectives may not always reflect the truth. It also demands courage to let go of constructed realities that no longer serve us or align with universal balance. In the end, we must ask, are we living in reality shaped by passing perception and perspectives? Or are we aligning ourselves with what is timelessly real? The difference matters. Perception and perspective are tools, important yet limited. They help us navigate the world, but they are not the world itself. The real is what remains when illusions fall away. Truth, breath, nature, balance, moral clarity. If we can learn to see beyond our realities to the real, we may yet find some way once again to nature's harmonious unity of creation, Hiwara. Not through sameness, but through the shared essence of all that is real. And that's my presentation for this evening. I invite responses. I want to, give the host, Rashaki, my brother, Professor Rahh, and my other brothers, Mshinda and Ernest, McBride, and others who are in the space. I have not really looked to see who's in the space right now. And I want to say thank you for taking the time to hear this instructions that the Most High and my righteous ancestors have embedded within me to share with not only my people, but with entire humanity itself. So, Brother Rashaki.
Appreciate it, Brother Shawara. Appreciate it. That was excellent, in my opinion. I'm going to go to Brother Ahi. Brother Ahi is here also. Brother Ahi.
Yes, brother. All praises to our ancestors and forefathers and their sacrifices to put us in the position that we're in. And I'm glad, brother, that I was sharing the space with you this evening. I appreciate your message, and I'll pass it on.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you for being here. Hopefully we can unite ourselves in a more stronger bond, be outside of this platform and begin to do some real work, not necessarily work that is broadcasted, but work that is necessary to get through these rough and tough, immoral times. We need to focus on the moral codes that our ancestors lived by, you know, and I speak of like ancestors like Mansa Musa. His economic plan is Commonwealth was different from the British Commonwealth. You know, he went around and wherever he saw poverty and suffering and poor people hurting, he gave them gold to freedom. He answered their plight. We live in a world now that has taken the morality out of that. And now we're talking about redistribution of wealth. Well, if there was if the distribution of wealth was based upon moral clarity and a moral foundation, there would be no need for a redistribution of wealth. See, redistribution of wealth is an implication that there is some kind of imbalance in the wealth system. And so we don't need to try and fix it. We just need to go ahead and trash that type of a system because it's based on imbalance. It's not based on balance. To enter that system and try to balance that system when you did not create that system is a breach against nature, because that which is created can only be controlled by that which created it, and that which is created can never be powerful than that, more powerful than that which created it. So us in that system becomes rendered not powerful at all because we didn't create the system. We're in the system we did not create. So common sense will tell us, and it stands to reason, that we want to control the system, we must create our own system. Instead of trying to get a seat at a table that we did not build, we need to get up from that table and go build our own table and sit at that table.
Amen.
All right. Thank you. Brother Mshinda?
Yeah, good evening, brothers, and Brother Chirara, thank you for coming on again. Thank you for sharing this, what I might call a scientific analysis or makeup of you know what our capabilities are, or who we are. You know, it's I get it. You know, I understand it. I think I do. In terms of you were talking about energy. Um, you know, like in mathematics, we talk about, you know, in some of the math, we talk about lowest common denominator. And my interpretation is you're discussing the highest common denominator. You know, it's kind of in reverse, you know, in terms of, you know, you know, what I get out of it, you know, as mortal beings, people on the planet operating at a low level, not utilizing the energy that exists for us to tap into, to be able to be able to manifest greatness. And it appears that we've been hijacked. And so my interpretation again is to, you know, like energy itself can't be created or destroyed. You know, this is a constant. It's a constant in the equation. If we're thinking math and science, it's a constant. You know, it's a given and a constant. And knowing, you know, recognizing that and understanding that, to be able to soar at the altitude where we once were as a people, and that makeup that we possess, you know, it's a constant. It's just a matter of recognizing it. I think that, you know, the perceptions and the you know, things, you know how we've been hijacked, you know. So anyway, I'm just kind of, you know, freelancing and but I appreciate, you know, I think I understand what you're saying. You know, I think you did a very in-depth dissertation on that. And so I'm going to listen to it again once, this is recorded, of course, and I'm going to go back and listen to it again as part of my research. And I just appreciate you sharing, that highest common denominator.
Yes. Yeah, I appreciate your comment because I've never heard it quite put like that. Highest common denominator. That is so like on target. Because perception and perspective are natural programs. They have a thing called OOP, OOP, object oriented program. I put the S on the end because OOP is also a short for oops. You drop something, you say oops. So I put the S on the end of OOP to complete what it actually means, and it's object-oriented programming system. This word, I discovered this word from working on these subjects. When it's put to me, then I have to go inside in order to be able to come up with the true, most purest presentation for the subject matter. That our ancestors DNA is just a code word for information that's eternal and infinite, information that never ends. Just like they can tell you if you take your intestines out, it would stretch how many miles in front of you. Well, if you take the DNA strand out, they say it goes beyond some billions of miles into the cosmos. So the word that came to me that where I discovered OOP was encapsulation. But to encapsulate something is to put something in a certain form and to encapsulate it in there. It is in there. Ancestor told me was that when you talk about the technological age, the digital age, and all of this blockchain and all of that, and AI and all of that, they're talking about the human body. There's nothing else. This is the ultimate age of technology where we no longer just using the evidence that the Almighty energy, God, and our righteous ancestors have put out here in the form of micro and macro universe that we observe, and through that observation, we say, oh, let's create a wheel to move things. And so we begin to invent. So the OOP, we are the capsule. We are the capsule, but our programming is not man-made. We are the artificial intelligence of energy. We are the original artificial intelligence, but we're not artificial. So we cannot call ourselves artificial. We're only artificial in the sense that we were created by energy itself. And when we pass on what they call death, it's just another transfer of that same energy. And so within us, we are, because of who we are by identity, it's not artificial intelligence, it's African intelligence. And they're using their invention, which is a futile attempt, once again, to take us out of sync with our true home, which is all of creation. We are the mandated owners of this creation, of all things seen, known, and all things unseen and unknown. We are the custodians of that. We are the inheritors of that. We are the sons and daughters of everything that is and can never not be, and everything that is not and can never be. We are the custodians of that. 100% human DNA. This is not an ideology philosophy. This has already been proven scientifically in Harvard and Oxford and Göttingen and all these major universities around the world, that the only species of the human race that has 100% human DNA, no Neanderthal or any other thing else, is the Black race of people. So we are that capsule, and inside of us is embedded the programming system, programmed by energy itself, by God, by life, to come out here and do what we must do. This is not a battle. Our mind is the place where the battlefield is. Our thinking is the weapon that they fear. Because out of our thinking come thoughts, and thoughts create innovation, you have a problem? We can think about it, come up with the solution, because we're going to generate the thought that is the highest common denominator. As my brother said, this is so true and so real, but it's all happening. But there's one significant thing needed for us to have full access to the most powerful energy and force upon this planet and through our creation. One thing, and I'll sum it up in one word. It's called acceptance. If you don't accept the power of energy, if you don't accept that you are the power of energy, then you cannot have access to the information. Can't. It's impossible. Our ancestors were beyond human beings, beyond flesh. They operated on a total different level. Like my brother said, highest common denominator. But the highest common denominator they were operating on was not based on mortal definition of highest common denominator. It was based on cosmic, universal, immortal highest common denominator. That's beyond mortal realms. So that's who we are, So it's a pleasure for me being here. So if there's any more, please just speak freely, challenge me, pull it out of me so I can express the truth as it is in real time. Because I'm speaking in real time. I'm not speaking in past stuff or memorized information. I'm speaking from the knowledge of myself. I know what I know. I don't say I know more than others, and I don't say what I know is the absolute truth. I just know what I know. And I understand what I understand in addition to knowing what I know. And I can express it, and I will express it according to the will of the Almighty, energy, and my righteous ancestors. So,
okay, listen, we got two other people, Brother Chawara. Okay, Ernest.
Well, all I had, I appreciate the presentation, and I kind of understand what you're saying, because like electronic classes that I used to take, we used to talk about energy and sound. You can never, energy comes out volume like your voice, and then it dampers down. And we always felt that if you could get an instrument sensitive enough, you could pick up voices from thousands of years ago. And what you're talking about, I was thinking about, I've been kind of busy, trying to trace my ancestry, the DNA back. And it's so far I'm back to Senegal and a couple other tribes back there, but I'm not really sure. But it's just a lot of stuff to consume. And I've always tried to boil a lot of that down to little basic concepts and things that my father has taught me. And he's always taught me, never think you're better than the next man that you meet. And you should treat him with respect. if they respect you, you respect them. And one thing I'm having a hard time with now is I understand the genocide that's going on over there in Gaza and then also in Guyana. They say the same thing's going on there, but we're not hearing about it.
Wow.
But there's a lot to take in. So I kind of concepts I try to look at is just you should respect your brother, and you are your brother's keeper, in other words. And in some of those concepts, I try to live by them. Try to respect other people and appreciate them and help them if I can, and looking at it basically, and that's kind of how I try to live my life. So, Dr.
Yes,
Rahh, you can.
that's beautiful. One thing we should always focus on also in order to understand more even our own individual or collective collective seeking. Understand that we are a library. So if we are a library, there's no need for us to look outside of ourselves for information to confirm anything. And as I said before, acceptance is the key. When I put the word acceptance to many of my brothers and sisters, one of the first things that comes out of their minds in the form of a word is, but I need to understand what I'm accepting. And that is the block. That's what blocks you. The reason I say this is because there's no university that I know of on earth, and if there is, let me know, that teaches understanding. All the universities, schools, and places of learning, they just teach knowledge. They don't teach people how to understand stuff, because that's above that's like the highest common denominator stuff. That comes directly from energy. You gather the knowledge, energy will give you the understanding. Now, what has happened in the world, we have a lot of people gather a lot of knowledge, and they intellectually process it, and thinking that intellectual processing is equal to understanding, and understanding is totally different. Understanding, when one truly understands the knowledge, they become unconventional. And most people that hold the same knowledge that person holds would have a difficult time, because they are so intellectually compounded with this knowledge that the understanding loses them. The only way to receive understanding is to accept. Some people have knowledge and don't understand it because they don't really accept the knowledge. They accept the instructions, how they've been instructed, because this is how the colonizers treated information. And then they tampered with it. They turned it from total pure truth to lies, half-truths. And what they couldn't convert to lies or half-truths to serve their purposes, they put it in obscurity. They hid it. They buried it. But truth cannot be buried for forever. Just like the poet Maya Angelou said, "And still I rise." Truth will always rise. I don't care how deep you hide it, how far you hide it, or how high you hide it. It's going to find its way back to its space of balance and accessible to all. So acceptance is the key that opens up understanding. So if I say, I am God, I am energy, I am all that is and ever was and that is to be, it doesn't matter what my neighbor thinks about that, because it doesn't involve my neighbor, because what I eat, my neighbor will not go to the bathroom and have a bowl moved with, and vice versa. What one man eats doesn't cause another man to go to the bathroom. It's what each man intake within himself gives him what he has. or what he will let go of, or the residue of that. It is not outside of that. So once we accept that we are the 100% human DNA, we are the original, we are the earth itself, because the earth is our ancestor, and we are brown for a reason, and different tones of brown for a reason. It's because we came of the earth, and the earth is of us, and we are of the earth. So when we accept that, then our true programming inside begins to teach us. You will hear that voice. That voice will tell you, but you have to be obedient to it. You cannot take that little g, which is this, and the experiences of this, the perspective and the perceptions of this, and say, well, I'm big G now, so therefore what I'm going to do, big G meaning the capital G, you are the source. You are connected to the source, so therefore you must be the source, because you can't be connected to the source and not be the source, because the source is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. So how can you be a part of that, or could that be inside of you and you not be that? You see? And so once you accept that, that's the key that unlocks. That's the key that unlocks the information and the understanding of the information. And with that, the mind is the body that is seeking unification. So when we say Africa unite, when we say Black unity, we're not talking about physical unity. We're talking about mind unity, unification of the Black mind, the Black genius, the Black intelligence, the Black intuition, the merging of those, you know, the intelligence and intuition, the merging of them. They're supposed to work as one. That's how they're supposed to work, as one unit. So this is the problem we find ourselves in. We get confused and all that kind of stuff. We lose our one of our greatest power also is contentment. You see, when a man or one is not content, then he is like what you call we call that you know, you're under some kind of spell. You're under a spell. You know, is a word I'm searching for. And you want to go out there, you want to go do this, you want to go do that, but that's purposely set within this neo-colonial system. It's purposely set like that, so that we go out and go mix ourselves up and get muddled up, and the next thing you know, who's watching you? The police. Just the other day, one of the people that, you know, I know says to me, guess what? I said, what? He said, you know, in Washington, D.C., the police department and the police in Washington, D.C. have now been federalized. You know, now they call Washington, D.C. Chocolate City. And they didn't call it Chocolate City because it has a high population of Caucasians. So when you're going to nationalize the Black population, what in fact they're saying is they want to be prepared for you. And so they're what you call activating all of their powers to keep you in line. This nation, and that's just an observation, others may think differently, but I feel like this nation has spent so much energy, so much money, so much time dedicated to keeping the Black race in America. Whether you come from the Caribbean islands and here in America, whether you come from Africa here in America, whether you born and raised in America, whether you come from Canada and you live in America, whether you come from South Central America and live in America, it doesn't matter. They dedicated to keeping the intellectual genius and the intellectual energy, the mind energy of the Black people in the Americas down. They don't want them to rise up. Not to rise up to take over anything, because we're not on that vine. We don't operate like that. We operate on the human level. That's the level that we operate. We operate on the human level. That's very dangerous. Because the human level means you're the only one with access. You're the only one with direct access. Everybody else got to go through something to get to what you already got direct access to. You are the inheritors, the sons and daughters of energy. Nobody understands energy more than you. How could energy create things and then these people come out and sell us on this concept again or notion that there's an energy crisis? How could there be an energy crisis? It's an energy crisis because they want a gadget connected to it that they can meter and enslave the people with. Nikola Tesla, his whole thing was, I want to let energy be accessible to everybody. He wanted to outlaw war. These are natural scientists. Well, you know, they did everything, and everybody that knows, you know, that looks into Nikola Tesla knows what's going on. Then we hear this man Elon Musk comes up now, and all of a sudden he's got electric cars. He's got electric cars, and he's running around. He's all the way in the White House. Now, then you see Africa. You see Maxwell Chikumbutsu. He says, okay, I'm going to make a car that don't need electricity. I'm going to make a car that's self-powered. I'm going to make a car that you can use that car to power all the stuff in your house, power your whole house up. Try to kill him. He got poisoned, but he survived. His partners and the people he was working with, they died. He escaped. So this is what we're faced with. Now electric cars is like basically, it's like cassette tapes and 8-tracks, man. You know, just like that, just like that. And there's so much more. They're not even talking about what the Black people here in America is doing and have done and will forever do. And I'm not saying these things to, like I said in the preamble, we're not talking against nobody. The disclaimer tells it all. The preamble disclaimer tells it all. It's not intended to purpose challenge any religious or political, cultural belief or societal norm. We don't care about that. We ain't trying to save society. Energy doesn't care about these evil leaders of the world. Because energy understands, yes, in the end, the law will take care of these evil people. Because what you sow, so shall you reap. And that's not just a belief. It's real. If a man dies today, trust me when I tell you this, that same man that dies today, he's born tomorrow. He's born tomorrow. We don't die. We multiply. We don't fall. We rise. We are not descendants of our ancestors. We are ascendants of our ancestors. We descend the birth canal of our mothers after we get through making ourselves in her womb. And then when we hit earth, we begin to ascend. We don't descend. We are ascendants. We ascend. That means when we come here, we are a greater version of our ancestors. We're more powerful, a more mighty version of our ancestors. We see it. Black people never used to be in the NBA. or in the NFL, or in the tennis, or in the golf. We had our own sport, and we played against ourselves. But no money was made by them because they didn't have no competing energy. The greatest boxers, the greatest of everything. I mean, at what point do we accept who we are and just be that and come together in unification and begin to rebuild our broken nation without fear? If it takes that.
Brother Chawar,
With courage, it takes that. Yes.
I want to get to Professor Rahh.
Absolutely.
Okay. Professor Rahh?
Appreciate what's been said, if I understand correctly. I don't have too much to say because my experience of teaching for 34 years at a university, there's room for all thoughts and all perspectives. It's up to various ways in which people accept the various visions, interpretations, and understanding. But one thing we all got in common: we live and we die. I don't care how deep you are, how much energy you got, you gonna die. You gonna, as soon as you're born, your numbers start coming up. Some people even die before they even get out the womb. Most people are just they don't even want to go that deep in thinking. I appreciate what Brother Chawar was doing. He's a deep thinker. He's a critical thinker, and he's trying to provide people energy to think and to look at the world different and understand the world different from what various systems have programmed you, man, be a religious system, political system, educational system, vocational system, or whatever. You understand? The earth changes. I mean, not the earth don't change, but the lifestyle changes with automation, technology. What may be true today may be not true tomorrow. And it's a variety of things, but I appreciate his presentation. And I understand it from the standpoint of his understanding of the need for people to be thinkers and think outside the box and realize their geniuses within themselves. And, but at the same time, you have to institutionalize it in order to get a mass following or a group following, period, to begin to study what he's talking about. He studied what he's talking about. Most people don't study anything other than they check and the things they got to do within the system that they live. And as Ernest was talking about, you have people in Gaza starving, and Sudan starving, and Haiti's going through changes. And, all it's a universe. And it's easy to think when you don't have those problems. Like you got shelter and food, and you can think and you can see life different from a person that trying to figure out how they can get some food or how they can get some shelter. I mean, how do you get the homeless to think the things that Chawar was talking? How do you get people with catastrophic illnesses to think that way? All they're trying to do is get healthy and try not to die. So that's the variety of life. Just like we got different people, different flowers, different fruits, everything's a variety. It's up to you to pick the one you want or the one that you think is best, or you can create like Chawar have done in his interpretation of life and the importance of power and things of this nature. So it's a great presentation. I learned a lot. But, like I said, there's so many people in the world that you can't reach. You don't even speak their language. You know what I'm saying? Everyone, it's hard to get even people on the continent of Africa. It's different. At the same time, they've been colonized, abused mentally and spiritually, that they don't even exercise what Rahh said. They're in their own power within themselves and their own energy within themselves. They operate on other people's energy. And that's rough. That's rough. But it was a good presentation. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Professor Rahh. It's always a pleasure being in your presence, because I'm aware of, the road that you have trod, and I'm grateful to be in your presence, and I'm honored to be here sharing the same space with you. To answer the question, how do you get people to think on the levels that we're discussing here, which is like my brother said, the highest common denominator, when they have to deal with such and such and such and such and such. And then that's why moral compass and moral codes become the real movement. Because, see, the have-nots have not. So they have to be really predisposed, as you say, dealing with, how they will get something to eat and whatnot. But all of us have a moral responsibility. All of us have a mandate of dominion. We are our brother's keeper. That's been taken out of the societies in which we live, because the societies in which you live is a bastardized version of what a real society is. The systems in which we are governed in which we live in are artificial systems, not based on functionality, but based upon dysfunctionality. And there's a whole economic and financial power base that thrives on dysfunctionality, that thrives on poverty, that thrives on crime and criminality. And that system itself is criminal. And so what we are saying is those who are being abused will continue to be abused until they decide they no longer will be abused and they stand up. This is not an individual thing. This is a collective movement, because all of creation, all of nature, energy builds on unified movement. Energy builds on a collective basis, not on an individual basis. The systems now in place thrive on the individual. They say divide and conquer. Okay? Divide and rule. That's the principle that these systems that we are now in, that's so egregious to us and anti-us and causes us to be anti-self, is based upon the concept, again, which is a fictional crap, of divide and rule. And because they make it believable, because they divide the people and they rule the people, but we're not understanding that they use terror, they use horror, they use barbarism, they use certain things that is outside the realm of the moral code and the morality and balance of life itself. Energy is balanced. If energy was out of control, trust me, all of this, we wouldn't be having a discussion. If energy would be like haywire, it'd be like the Big Bang or something like that. Everything would explode. because energy has no differentiation, has no, but there's a conversation inside of energy. There's a mind. There's a cosmic mind that reasons with energy. And that mind that reasons with energy keeps energy balanced. And so when energy and mind get together and create this cosmic universe, this universal oneness, there are moral codes that set up that everything within the macro and the micro universe shall operate without egregious destructive energy. And because of that, that's why that moral fiber is what kept everything together. With the advent of this marauder, they stripped away the protective shield, which was embedded in our Aboriginal and indigenous cultures around the entire globe. It was embedded in the culture. The culture was something that we built. It could be seen. We see the pyramid, we see the Sphinx. We discovering buried cities in America. We see the Mississippi River and all of the pyramids that's in the west, some older than what's in the east. We see all of these things, the evidence that was covered up. And then we're getting artifacts that was stolen and hid up. So all of these things, we didn't get here just because somebody was more intelligent than us or not. We got here because we were the highest common denominator. And we knew that we had a responsibility of mandate of dominion. So the mandate of dominion did not say that we should destroy. It said that we should be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. It didn't say nothing about death. Now, what we perceive as death is just birth. And what we perceive as birth, that is the death. If we are to call it, really, death don't play no role here. Death don't play any kind of role. It's the perception and the perspective, the stories built up on these perspectives that give us that acceptance. Oh yeah, we all die, which is fine. I'm not saying we don't die. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there is a understanding and a wisdom connected to what's happening. When the child is born, that's the first birth. The woman don't just get up and walk away with the child. She has to stay there and complete the birth because there's a second birth. And I'm not talking about the twin. I'm talking about if it's a twin, there's a third birth. And if it's a triplet, there's a fourth birth. And that fourth birth or the third birth or the second birth is called a placenta. That's the world in which that being created that world inside of another world. The world that the being created for itself inside of the world which we call mother, the womb, the altar, and the child was the blood that was spilled on the altar, which is the blessing. That's what the definition of bless and blessing means, blood as spilled on an altar. And then once that developed, because that being is going to create itself, the mother's not making that being. The mother's body is just being used. She's just a vessel. She's a capsule. And she has a program embedded in it called procreation. And if she stimulates that, she's saying, I'm giving myself to the being that's coming and he's going to build or she's going to build he or herself within my womb. And I must respect that. I must eat properly. I must think properly. I must not let toxic thoughts invade my mind. I must not make toxic emotions fill my body because this being is of a pure nature, is of the energy form. And that being begins to stimulate milk to grow in the mother's breast. The mother ain't making that milk. She don't even know how that milk got made. All she knows is that she better make some milk because the being in there is making that happen, making her body do that. That being knows her body more than she does. And so when that being comes out and birthed into the earth and on the journey to ascend now, which we call life, that placenta is the last thing that's birthed. That's the old world. So now the being is now come out of one womb, which is mother, and birth into another womb, which is the world, the cosmos, the universe. And that person, that being, is living the life of its birth, of its being, what is assigned to it at birth, not what you designate yourself to be, because you're not going to do that. That's against the natural order. This is some unnatural stuff now when you talk about I identify as this or identify as that. In other words, everything they identify as is not what they actually are. So ain't nobody saying, hey, they ain't got the right to do that. They can do what they want to do because the law applies to everybody and everything. You will reap that which you sow. So there's no problem. People can say they identify as whatever they want to identify as. There's laws here. Man ain't the one that came up with law. Law was here. So when you live your life and you're growing, puberty, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, young adult, working, and you out here building now from 21 on to about 60, 65. You're building a world, you're building businesses, you build towns, you're doing all of this between 21 or 18 and 65. That's your power. You're making all this money, you educating yourself, you growing exponentially, your genius is coming out, you're doing great. And then you get to 65, they call that retirement. That means those are the age from 65 to 100 and beyond. Those are the people with the next age. Those are the people that's supposed to have prepared something for themselves. What this system, dysfunctional system in this dysfunctional world has done is separated all of that and then attack each one. Because the 65 to 100 and beyond, and then 18 to 65, they're supposed to be united as one force, coming together, solving problems for the newborn to 18. But we're not doing that because the newborn and the little child, the toddler, they don't have no power to do nothing. They're in the school of life. They are learning from the divine manifestation, the sons and daughters of the divine mother and father, divine energy, male, divine energy, female, come together, mind and energy.
So, Gerard,
Yes.
we're gonna have to close this evening, and
Absolutely.
we'll pick up the next time you be on to continue, if that's your wishes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
So you want to leave us with something so we can go ahead and close out?
I would say to my people and the other peoples in the world that are not necessarily 100% human DNA, that don't be discouraged. And nobody's inferior or superior to anyone. We are the manifestation of who we are. Learn how to know yourself, go within yourself, learn. Don't be afraid of that voice that speaks to you. That's your first teacher. Before your mother taught you and daddy taught you. Your divine self, that part that your divine mother and father gave you, that breath that came into you and took you, that breath, that from that day that breath came into you and took you, you breathed on your own. That's energy that they call in God. Have faith and trust in that. The world does not know what you know. You know more. Have faith in that. Go in there and get that information. Be wise. Be patient. Be content. Be true to yourself. Know yourself. Don't be afraid to be without a dollar. You wasn't born with one. Don't think that money is what makes you successful. It is not. It is your ability to think, and think correctly. Restore your moral compass. Restore your relationship with family. Look past the illusions and go through to the root cause of any situation or problems in your life, personally, whether it's a relationship, or whether it's family, or whether it's business. There's a core reason why you're struggling, why you're hurting, why you're feeling like you can't go on. You have to let go of past foreparents and past ancestors' ills. Purge it from yourself. Think about rebuilding your blood system. It goes into a depth. And I will try my very best on the next time. I think I have a schedule coming up in October. And we'll try to, me and you, Brother Rashaki, will discuss. And I'd like to thank each one that's in the panel, in the audience. Thank you so much for your comments, for your encouragement. And I will definitely continue in the way of restoring the harmonious unity in creation. That's what the word Shuara means. And Ochosi means the fearless arrow. So we must move forward fearlessly within the CEN network and this particular platform branch of it. So thanks again, Brother Rashaki. Thanks to our righteous ancestors. Thanks to the immortal powers of energy that is with us. I wish only health and wealth and guidance to all of our people and all the peoples of the earth. You know, just stand firm, be true to yourself. Don't worry. Reconnect to the earth. Just reconnect to the earth. That's all you have to do. Reconnect. Hug a tree. Walk barefoot. Ask for guidance. And it will come to you. The earth will speak to you. The creation will speak to you. You will know, but you must accept. You can't be led astray by what you see on it. So peace and love, guidance and protection. Ubuntu, Ase, Ashe, Aseitio, Rasta.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Thanks a lot. Professor Rahh, what we got next week?
I'll call you tomorrow.
All right. So next Wednesday, we have Ayanta Howell, MD, and the topic is mental health stigma in communities of color. All right. So we're going to close. Each one teach one in Conscious Corner. Continue to have a great day, everyone.